We have a lot of books to cover for this year, so let's just get straight to it. Okay, well, I'm happy you're here. Okay, hi buddy. Today we are going to be talking about my favorite and kind of highest ranked books of the year, and there are a lot of books here to talk about. Some of these aren't 5 stars, some of these are just kind of just memorable to me, and oh, there's one more, so let's just hold on there. I read a lot of books this year, and there's probably honestly more that I could talk about, but I'm just trying to kind of make this like as short as possible. But I honestly don't even notice where to start. So I guess we will just start with, let's start with some Colleen Hoover books. I've got 3 Colleen Hoover books here that were very memorable to me. And either memorable to me or I enjoyed them a lot. So some of these are kind of not as fresh in my brain, so it will take me a second to explain them. But we have Verity by Colleen Hoover, which is the first Colleen Hoover book that I read, and this was about Lowen, and she's struggling financially, and she's trying to kind of write a book based on Verity, and since Verity is very not well, she is going to pick up the last of Verity's series. She meets Jeremy Crawford, which is Verity's husband, and Verity's bedridden, and she is like basically not able to do anything. And some creepy things happens when Lowen decides to stay at her house to kind of research up on her manuscripts and all of this. She sees Verity's kind of diary type of manuscript, and it all goes crazy from there. So I highly recommend this one. It was crazy. We have Ugly Love, which I believe is the second book that I read by Colleen Hoover, and honestly I like this better than It Ends With Us. I can't tell you why. It's not a very popular opinion, but this one was about Tate and Miles, and I honestly can't remember that much about this book, which is probably not good to say, but I remember I really liked it, and this was the start of my reading journey, and I really, really enjoyed it. It's kind of like a friends with benefits to lovers type of deal. Yeah, I do recommend it if you're just starting out. I feel like it's an easy read. Don't remember that much about it, but I knew that I liked the characters. Then we have Layla by Colleen Hoover, which is another one of her kind of psychological thriller books. And I gave this 5 stars. And some people say that this is not near as good as Verity, but honestly, I read this later in the year, and I thought it was just as good. I thought it was a little different, which was good. And this is about Leeds and Layla and their relationship, how they meet and how they fall in love. And then something tragic happens to Layla. They decide that they want to move back to the bed and breakfast that they met at and stay there permanently. And Leeds starts seeing things or feeling things around the house, and it's just kind of like a paranormal love. Like it's not common to read books like this, and I really, really enjoyed it. And then last by Colleen Hoover was one that I think I read last month or this month, and that was November 9th. And this one is also not very popular, but honestly this might be one of my favorites by her. It's about Fallon and Ben, and it's kind of an insta-love situation, but they can't commit to one another, so they decide that every year on November 9th they are going to meet up with each other, and they are going to kind of update each other on their lives and blah blah blah, and it just talks about their love story and all that goes on with that. And so I really, really enjoyed this one as well. Highly recommend. Hold on, let me close the door. Then one of literally the first book that I read when I started my reading journey is The Summer of Broken Rules. Now this book is probably not the most memorable book ever, but if you want a good summer read, this is definitely where to start. It's fun, it's light, it's cutesy, and it's not very deep. It's just kind of like a fun read. And this is about Meredith Fox. She goes to Martha's Vineyard every summer, I think, or something like that, to hang out with family. And now she is visiting there for the first time since her sister has died. Her and her family are visiting there due to a wedding that's going on. Can't remember whose wedding. I think it's her brother's maybe, or no, her sister, somebody, cousin, I think. And she sparks a relationship with the brother's best man. And it's really cute, and I really liked it, and the cover's obviously beautiful. Then we have Love in Other Words by Christina Lauren. And I don't know if I'd give this a 5 stars anymore, but it's very, very hyped up. It's like almost like a lot of people's favorite book. And this is kind of a dual POV, childhood friends to lovers. It talks about Macy and Elliot and their childhood, what happens, how they separated, how they kind of lost each other, and how they're coming back to each other. So it alternates from a teenage point of view, a kid's point of, like, their younger selves, and then their selves now. And so you kind of figure out what's going on, why they stopped talking, and if they're going to continue. Then we have Beach Read by Emily Henry and Book Lovers by Emily Henry. I also read People We Meet on Vacation, but it was definitely not as memorable as these two, which is a super common theme between people. The first one I read was Beach Read, which is Emily Henry's first book, I think. And this is about Augustus and January, and they are both kind of in the writing world, I believe. Oh, she sells romances, and he sells kind of like literary fiction, so they're both in way different genres. And they meet at a beach house, and they kind of have a pact together. They make a deal together that he's going to write a romance novel and she's going to write a literary fiction novel. And they're kind of trying to go on little dates and stuff to kind of give each other knowledge about their genres and how they're going to write each other's books. So that's how that is. And I really liked this. I really liked Augustus. I loved their relationship. It was super cute. Loved it. And then we have Book Lovers, which I liked as much or better than Beach Read. If I can remember, this was a long time ago. But this is also two people that have to do with books. It's a literary agent and an editor. A literary agent and an editor. And they have met before. They did not get along in their first encounter. And a while later, Nora, which is the main character girl, her and her sister decide to go on a trip to Sunshine Falls, North Carolina, which is where like one of her clients wrote a story based on that place. And so they're going to go there, and you kind of learn why they picked that place. And then she rekindles her relationship with Charlie Lastra, which is the editor, and he's kind of grumpy-ish, and they don't get along, but then they start kind of growing feelings for each other and figuring out what they want. And I believe that is literally the plot of this book. I don't know. I really liked it too. And I believe she has another one coming out next year, which I highly anticipate that release. Then we have, this is a series, Good Girl, Bad Blood, and As Good as Dead. And this is part of the Good Girl's Guide to Murder series. And the first book is not as good as the second two, in my opinion. They are YA kind of murder mysteries. This one has to be probably my favorite. I can't really remember this one. I can't remember, but this one definitely takes it to a different level. This is basically about a girl named Pip, and the series starts off, she is trying to figure out a murder case that has to do with some people that she knows, and she thinks somebody's been wrongly accused of this girl's murder, so she kind of goes into that, which leads into the second book. She has another murder investigation she has to solve, and she also starts a podcast, which leads to this, which is her basically trying to solve her own kind of mystery that has to do with her life. Somebody is trying to hunt her down. I really liked this one. I really liked them all, but those two are the ones that stuck out to me out of the three. Then we have The Love Hypothesis and Love on the Brain by Allie Hazelwood. These are basically STEM, like science and romance books. So the first one that she came out with was Love Hypothesis. I really, really liked this one. It was a feel-good book. And it is about a PhD candidate, which her name is Olive, and Adam Carlson, which is he is a professor at the school that she is attending, I believe. And she basically, they're faking a relationship because she is trying to convince her friend that she has moved on from this guy, and he has a reason why he's doing it as well. But then their romance suddenly, like, it evolves, and they, you know, become closer than just fake dating. So that's fake dating trope. And you'll just have to see what goes along with it. I mean, there's obviously going to be a lot of problems with their relationship, their dynamic. And it also includes science in this book, which that's kind of her thing, and it's kind of different, so I enjoyed it. More recently, I read her newer release, which is Love on the Brain. And this follows Levi Ward and B, whatever her last name is. And they are he is very grumpy. She thinks he hates her from when they met in school. And then they both get teamed up to do a NASA project. So also has some science elements to this. You know, it's a slow burn, I feel like. And I really like these characters. Just like I like the other ones. And I feel like she doesn't miss. And she also has one coming out next year, which I'm really excited about. Then we're going to go with another series, which is the Inheritance Game series by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. And that comes with the Hawthorne Legacy and the Final Gambit, which she released this one last year, or this year. And that is the final book in the series. This is about Avery Grams, and all of a sudden, she's not so good off. But all of a sudden, she gets a letter from this guy, Mr. Hawthorne. What's his first name? Tobias Hawthorne. And he has died and left basically almost his full inheritance to Avery. And she has no idea who this guy is. But the deal is that if she lives in the Hawthorne house for so long, then she will be able to get the inheritance. Well, she also has to deal with his family, who has basically been almost cut off from the inheritance, his kids and his grandkids. And the whole series is just about her kind of finding out why she got this inheritance. She doesn't know this man. And there are so many other parts that get entered into the world of this little book that you try to solve and everything. And as it goes on, there's just more and more mystery elements. And it's kind of like, people compare it to Knives Out. It's got a lot of puzzles. It's got a lot of things going on. And then there is a little subplot of romance, which is nice, obviously, but that is the Inheritance Games, and I do recommend that. Then we're going to go with some kind of thrillers. So I have 3 thrillers that I picked, and that is The House Across the Lake by Riley Sager. This one was not a 5-star for me, but honestly, if I would re-rate it, it would be 5. This is about a woman who used to be into the showbiz with TV and stuff, and she is, what is her name? Casey Fletcher. She's recently widowed, ex-actress. She's kind of having a hard time with everything. She's also, you know, an alcoholic, so she can't decipher what's true and what she's actually seeing versus what she's making up in her head. New neighbors move to town. The woman goes missing. She's trying to figure out, you know, what's happening, if there's something more going on there, if she just disappeared. And basically, she is looking to the house across the lake where that woman's husband lives and trying to gather clues and stuff. And it is definitely not what I expected at all. I really enjoyed this. I wasn't expecting anything. There was just turn after turn after turn in this book, and it just kept going. And I honestly think this was his best book yet. So I've read a couple more of his, but nothing amounts to this one. And then we have a couple Alice Feeney books, Rock, Paper, Scissors, and I just finished Sometimes I Lie by her. This is the last book I've read. Rock, Paper, Scissors is a book about Mr. and Mrs. Wright, and they're having marital issues, and I believe they want a trip to a weekend away in Scotland. And, you know, this white cover, it's snowy. They're staying in a little chapel in Scotland. And it's hard to explain this book because there's just so much going on. And I feel like nobody can ever guess these books, really, and what's going to happen. And she does a good job of that. But I would say this is probably her most popular book. It's just about them and their lives finally catching up with them. They think they're alone there, but are they really? And just a bunch of different stuff going on. So they're kind of just, who's lying, what's going on, you know, why are they there? And that's it. Then, Sometimes I Lie, which is one that I just read, is about Amber Reynolds, and she is in the hospital. She's in a coma, and she doesn't know why. And the three things, all she does know is she's in a coma, her husband doesn't love her anymore, and sometimes she lies. So she's kind of going back. It's a past present timeline. It's before, then, and now. So you'll understand it when you read it. But it's basically about her trying to piece the puzzle together, why she's in the coma, what's happening, who she can trust, all of that. And this definitely has a twist that I was not expecting as well. And you just kind of have to keep reading it to see what's going on, because I did not know what was going on. So, you know, what's going on? What is she going to do? Is she going to wake up? Type of deal. So I highly recommend those two by Alice Feeney. Then we have a little kind of different genre. I think this is just kind of literary fiction, a sports book. And this is Carrie Soto's Back by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I did not think I was going to like this book just because it doesn't really have that much romance in it. It's nothing really crazy going on. But this is basically about a woman named Carrie Soto. Obviously, it literally says in the title. And she was like the best women's tennis player of all time. She had this huge record of most like US Opens won or something like that. And she comes into retirement and somebody beats her record. And so she decides she's going to come out one last time and try to take her record back. It talks about her before this all happens, and then it talks about after. She comes out of retirement, and it's just, she is such a bratty, just hard-headed character, but you feel for her, and she grows and develops so much that I feel like this was just such a different read for me, and it was so, so, so good. Like, it was motivational. It was really, really good. Then we're going to talk about Twisted Love. This is the first book in the Twisted series, and right now I'm reading Twisted Games. And there are 4 books in this series, and it's already over. But this one focuses on Alex Volkov, which is a high-up businessman. He's very grumpy. He's very cutthroat. And Ava Chen, which is his his best friend's sister. And his best friend basically asks, hey, can you look over my sister while I'm gone? He's going on an internship or something like that. And so Alex owes him, and he just hates the idea of having to put up with his sister, his friend's sister. But then something blossoms between them. It's like enemies to lovers, honestly. He is like kind of a douchebag to everybody but her. And you get to see their romance evolve and, you know, all the things that they have to go through. There is an element of surprise in this book that I kind of wasn't guessing. But I don't know. I really enjoyed this book. I rated it almost 5 stars. And I feel like some people don't enjoy this. It is very scandalous, which could get a little too much at times for me. But brother's best friend trope, super cute, super love them. And then the rest of the series goes on to the whole friend group. So it's all of Ava's friends and their lovers. Then the last romance book we have is Addicted to You by Krista and Becca Ritchie. And I've only read 2 books in this series so far. I am planning on continuing this. But this is basically about Lauren Hale, and Lily Calloway, and about how they're both addicted to their different things. She's addicted to sex, he's addicted to alcohol, but they have been in this fake relationship so that they can convince everybody around them and their families that they don't have any issues, and they kind of, you know, hide it away and kind of protect each other, but enable each other with their addictions, and how that doesn't turn to work out for them. And it just talks about their developing kind of like love story and everything like that. And I believe this is also mixed with the Calloway sister series, which is all of her sisters. It's a whole big family dynamic. And I know that a lot of people love this series, so I'm going to keep trying it. I honestly do really like it, but I heard that it gets really good by the third book, and the third book is the next one I need to read. So I'm excited. I think everybody should give this a go. Everybody loves this book. Like, it's everybody's favorite series. So try it out. And then, if nobody expected this, my absolute favorite life-changing series that I read this year was A Court of Thorns and Roses. This includes A Court of Thorns and Roses, A Court of Mist and Fury, A Court of Wings and Ruin, A Court of Frost and Starlight, which is the novella, and then A Court of Silver Flames. These books are very lengthy, but I will tell you what the first book is about, which really doesn't matter because literally the whole story takes a 180 after the first book. This is about Feyre, fantasy romance. She's not a fairy, but she is in the human realm, and she kind of gets in trouble by this one fairy from the fairy realm, so he takes her prisoner, or not prisoner really, kind of takes her to live with him, and they spark a romance and all of this. Honestly, I'm going to make a whole video on this series because I have so much I want to say about it, but this, no books can compare to this in my opinion, and it's just absolutely insane how these books have such a hold over me. Like, I think about these books all the time. I am begging Sarah J. Maas to release the next book, and I'm going to read her other series until then. But honestly, I don't know how it could get any better than that, because the family dynamic in these books, the characters, they feel so real, the scenery that you can envision, and just the plot, it's just, all of it's so good, and there's nothing like it that I've ever read in my life. So those are all of the books, all of the memorable books I've read this year. There are so many, if you've watched my wrap-ups, that I could recommend, but to keep this semi-short, I'm going to leave it at that. I am so excited for 2023 and the reading that comes with it, and if you guys have any recommendations for what I should read in the new year, please, please, please let me know, and I will see you guys very, very soon with a new video. Thank you guys for everything, and bye!